Thank you for joining this lesson. We're going to study a probability question whereby we are going to gauge mutually exclusive events and independent events. We are told in number 20 that in a mathematics test, the probability of 3 students passing is 2/3, 3/4, and 5 out of 6 respectively. Part A, draw a tree diagram to represent this information. Remember to subscribe to our channel and to also share the link with your friends. Therefore, in the tree diagrams, we're going to start with the first student. So for the first student, this student can either pass or fail. The student can either pass with a probability of 2/3, which means failing is 1/3. It is very important to notice that whatever has happened for the first student will not affect what will occur for the next student. Therefore, the next student, whether the first one has passed or not, will either pass or fail. And the second student passing is 3/4, which means failing is 1/4. Whether he had failed the first one, the second one can still pass or fail with a probability of 3/4, which means 1/4 for failing. Then now, whatever has happened for the first and the second does not affect what will happen for the third student, and that is what we mean by independent events. So this is going to be an independent event. The student can either pass or fail with a probability of 5 out of 6, which means now 1 out of 6. Even here, the third one will either pass or fail with 5 out of 6 and 1 out of 6 respectively. Even here, we'll have passing or failing with a probability of 5 out of 6 and 1 out of 6. And finally, even in the last bracket here, we will still have passing or failing, and the probability is 1/6 for failing and 5 out of 6 for passing. Therefore, if we outline all the outcomes, we shall have passing, passing, and passing. Passing, passing, passing. The next is passing, passing, failing. Passing, passing, failing. Here we'll have passing, failing, passing. Passing, failing, passing. Then from this other side, we shall have passing on the same side. Passing, failing, then failing. Then from there we'll have failing, passing, passing. So failing, passing, passing. After that you'll have failing, passing, failing. Failing, passing, failing. Then failing, failing, and passing. Failing, failing, and passing. And finally, failing, failing, failing. So these are all the possible outcomes. We can now start evaluating the probability questions, whereby we are told use the tree diagram to find the probability that all the 3 students will fail. The last option here, failing, failing, failing. Therefore, we need probability that the student will fail, the next one fail, and the next one fail, which is going to be 1/3, 1/4, and 1/6. So 1/3, 1/4, and 1/6. So we're going to have 1 out of 3 times 1 out of 4 times 1 out of 6. So this is going to give us 1 out of 72 as the probability all the students will fail. In the next, we will have at least 2 students will pass. At least 2 students will pass. Therefore, we're going to look at where we are having 2 students passing, at least 2 will pass. So we have here, at least 2 have passed. This is another scenario where 2 have passed. Another scenario where 2 have passed. and the last scenario is here, where at least 2 students have passed. So it can either be 2 or above. So we will have probability passing, whereby it is 2/3 times 3/4 times 5 out of 6, or the other case is whereby we have passing, then failing. So 2/3, 3/4, and only one failing, which is a 1/6. Or the last case, we will have, okay, not the last, but the second last, we will have passing, failing, then passing. So 2/3, 1/4, and 5 out of 6. Or the last case, whereby we are failing, then passing. So it can be a third multiplied by 3/4 multiplied by 5 out of 6. Therefore, we can use a calculator to compute this probability, whereby we're going to start with 2/3. 2/3 multiplied by 3/4 multiplied by 5 out of 6, or whereby we add 2/3 multiplied by 3/4 multiplied by 1/6, or where we add 2 out of 3 multiplied by 1/4 multiplied by 5 out of 6, and we finally add a third multiplied by 3/4 multiplied by 5 out of 6. So this is going to give me 61 out of 72. 61 out of 72. And finally, we are told to find the probability that only one student will pass. Probability only one student will pass. So it is one student passing and the others failing. One student passing and the others failing. So it can either be this one, passing, then the others fail. We have a failing, and one passing, or failing, and one passing. Only one passing, only one student passing. So it can either be probability passing, which is 2/3, then the others fail, whose probability of failing is now 1/4 and 1/6. Or the second student alone passing, whereby we will have this one, the first one failing, the second passing alone, 3/4, and the other one also failing. Or the third student passes alone, whereby we will have the probabilities of failing, then this one passes alone. Therefore, we can confirm these probabilities. The value is going to be, we'll have 2 out of 3 times 1/4 times 1/6 plus a third times 3/4 times 1/6, or a third times 1/4 times 5 out of 6. So this is going to be 5 out of 36. Thank you for following. Subscribe and share.